At this point of time, I want to bring in Sandeep Agrawal from Play Games to talk more about how he has done cost optimization in his company. Over to you, Sandeep.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Please raise your hand if you can hear me. Thanks. Hey, thanks, Krish, for having me here. Thanks for introducing all the cost optimization pillars. I think, let me talk a little bit about the company that I'm currently at, Play Games. Some of you may not be familiar with it. So Play Games is a company that was launched in 2008, and it was launched primarily around Rummy. Rummy has been a real money game in India, where this is a game where the High Court or the Supreme Court has actually allowed you to bet money on Rummy. And what the company did was, in 2008, introduced an online version of the game that you could play over the desktop. Over a period of time, it's obviously evolved over to mobile. And currently, it's the market-leading platform for real money Rummy gaming in India. The number of app downloads we've had is 7 million plus. We've got a currently monthly active user base of 2 million plus users. On an average, our concurrent user base is typically of the order of 50K every evening. And during multiplayer tournaments, we typically get into the 90, 100K range as well. Currently, we are, in terms of our infrastructure, we are hosted on a colo model with one of the leading colo providers in India. This is one of the business units at Play Games. This is called Rummy Circle. There is a freemium game division as well, a BU that's called Ultimate Games, and that delivers Teen Patti and poker experiences along with Rummy experiences, freemium Rummy experience to users. This was launched in 2015 to obviously cater to the needs of newer games that we wanted to do. And within 9 months of its inception, we were the first freemium game to the market, and we had the highest grossing in terms of the casino category, the social or the casual gaming as it's called. Now, our AWS journey has been very interesting along with the colo journey that we have had. We started Ultimate Games completely back in 2015 on AWS. In 2016, we took one of the parts of our Rummy Circle to AWS. This was our staging/testing area. We created an environment that was pretty large, both for our developers and for our QA teams, to be hosted off of AWS. Then in late 2016, we built a DR environment, a disaster recovery environment for our colo model on AWS. So essentially, in case there is a disaster, if it were to occur, then we would be able to switch over to the AWS DR setup very quickly. And then in 2017 and in early 2018, we have continued to so far have, we've been adopting a lot of managed services like Kinesis, DynamoDB, and looking at EMR and Redshift as well, along with SageMaker for machine learning. Now, in terms of the cost optimization initiatives that we've undertaken so far, we've had a very interesting journey. And I'll talk a little bit about Play Games as well as one of my past experiences to describe the cost optimization initiatives that you can undertake at AWS. One of the big things AWS has is a trusted advisor. Trusted advisor talks a lot about your performance, your service utilization, security, and a few other facets. For us, the performance, service utilization, and security features are what we really use it for on a very periodic basis. So every couple of weeks, we would run a Trust Advisor report, and we'll figure out what kind of service utilization we're having. This is essentially a great way to also get us a sense of what kind of performance are we getting from our current applications vis-a-vis what was envisaged in the beginning when we deployed them to production. Now, this is where some of the cost optimization pillars that Chris talked about come into play. So what we with the help of Trust Advisor been able to do is essentially right size instances for our various applications. And this is very important because in some places, some of the more popular applications / services that we have on our infrastructure, we've been able to save almost 50 to 60% of the cost just by looking at what the Trust Advisor tells us with respect to the service utilization. We've also looked at, over a period of time, looked at the usage of the instances and converted a lot of on-demand instances to reserved instances, because they give us about 40% savings for a year's worth of reservation, I think when we do a full upfront payment. For us, that's a significant amount, and especially as we continue to do this exercise of migrating from on-demand instances to reserved instances, all of that flows down back to our bottom line. The next thing that we do is we've been looking a lot at spot instances as well. Spot instances, essentially, there are tools that you can now you can use on spot instances, where these tools will use ML to predict when a spot instance would be taken away from you. And we've done we've used this tool on a couple of our environments and workloads to be able to use spot instances very effectively. Other than these trusted advisor-based reports, we've also been able to get well-architected review. And we've had the essays from AWS come to us, talk to us a lot about the new managed services that are being offered on. And as AWS grows, the managed service offerings in portfolio of AWS continues to grow. We've used that a lot. And just over the last 3 weeks, we've started POCs with Redshift, EMR, and SageMaker, which is a big deal for us, essentially, as we look to make sure that people who are playing real money games on our platform, we protect these people's financial interests and do some risk analysis on that. In terms of resizing and migrating to newer instances, this is a very constant and a continuous exercise that one needs to take. So this is where, again, trusted advisor reports as well as our own monitoring of the applications helps us figure out if our instances are right-sized or not. And then as AWS continues to bring in M4 and M5's newer instances, next-gen instances, we are one of the first ones to migrate over to those. So in a nutshell, from my experience, what I would suggest is you cannot get capacity planning right day one. When you want to, if you are new to the cloud and you want to move your workload to the cloud from a colo or on-prem model, you have to start small. You have to get back of the envelope calculations right, and then you start to peel the layer of the onion to try and get more and more deeper insights into how your workloads are being used. You ought to experiment and test your use cases for scale, performance, security, and cost, obviously. And to sum it up, cost optimization is a continuous exercise. I think you do your company a lot of disservice if you're not looking at the cost structure on which you're hosted. So with that, I think what I would sum it up as, AWS provides us a lot of good cost optimization pillars that we've been constantly using to avail the benefits from it. Thank you so much.